Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, I'll just let you guys know, some of y'all are aware that I live in Texas, and yeah, we're kind of hurting down here right now during this winter weather. Really unusual weather for our state, and it's managed to knock out the electric grid. Our house has gas also, so we have been able to heat the house that way, but that's also been in jeopardy a little bit. And now today, our water pressure is so low that the faucets are just down to a trickle. So I thought, with all these wintry weather conditions going on, why don't I take some time to record a video just to distract myself a little bit from what's going on around me here at home. But getting back to what this video is about, we're going to be talking about the Bolt EV and also a brand new model being added to the lineup, still sharing the Bolt name, but being called the Bolt EUV. Let's just get down to what we know about the two cars so far. So the Bolt EV is largely the same. It looks very different on the exterior, mainly in the front of the car. So the front has a really big redesign that, to me, it looks a little odd at first. I'm sure I'll come around to it. But you know, I was okay with how it looked previously, so this new front design isn't too much of an interesting factor for me. It's just different, let's call it that. But the interior is where the biggest changes are. Now, the Bolt suffered from a pretty cheap interior before and some seats that weren't the most comfortable, to say the least, and now we have what looks like not only better quality materials inside and improved seating comfort, but there's also kind of a redesigned infotainment area, that center screen. But the EUV, I like how it looks on the exterior the best. You know, I kind of wish this is what we got for the Bolt refresh. You know, the EUV, we'll see. I mean, it's a car that's never existed before. We'll see what Chevy, puts into it and how it performs and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, when I look at the pictures of the EUV, that's really what I was hoping to see the Bolt, just the standard Bolt EV, look like. Now, to talk about the Bolt is kind of interesting because in a way it brings this channel full circle. The very first video I ever did for the channel was about the Bolt EV. And at that time, I was so excited. I mean, I was excited enough to basically create a channel around that car. Not around the car so much, but it motivated me to start this channel because I was so excited about the Bolt and thought that I would one day own it. Now, I was already driving electric at that point. This is like 2016, I think, is maybe when that video went up. But at the beginning of 2015 is when I started driving a Nissan Leaf. And so to me, I thought, wow, I can go from my Leaf to this car for not really that much more money, but get a whole lot more range. Now, if you've seen the channel and have watched it before, you've probably seen a lot of Leaf videos I've done, but you might think, oh, I never saw you do a Bolt video. Well, there's two reasons for that. I can just say right now, I never ended up getting a Bolt. Much to my surprise, as being so excited about it as I was, I figured for sure I was going to end up in one, but that just never happened. And the other side of it is that I actually did test drive a Bolt in 2017 when it was out and available, and I found it at a dealership, and I did a 24-hour test drive, taking it to work and just charging it at home and kind of doing things like that. And I never posted that video. I kind of referred to it as my lost episode. And the reason for that was I really just kind of was underwhelmed with the Bolt. There were just a few things that really bummed me out about the car, and as I look back and watch the footage, I can actually see myself getting more and more distraught as I realize that the car is not living up to my expectations. So again, I don't mean to trash this car too much. The Bolt is a really good car. First of all, it's affordable relatively. It's always had kind of a high sticker price, but it's always been discounted so much, since the EV tax credits went away. And I feel like in the past year or two, they've just been offering, they'll just cut $8,500 off the price of the car just, as a dealership discount. The Bolt EV, just the standard Bolt, will actually be cheaper, it seems like, than it has been in the past. So it starts at like $32,000. For that standard LT trim. So it's interesting that it's getting improvements both on the exterior and the interior, but is actually going to be sold for a little bit less money. There's not going to be a difference in range. It's still going to get that 259 miles EPA rated range that it got in 2020. So that's still pretty good, I think, though. I mean, my Tesla Model S, which is several years old, still goes, about that distance. So it's still a very good long-range vehicle. But I think the biggest difference is going to be that interior, because that is what kind of killed it for me. Not just the uncomfortable seats, but just the interior was really cheap quality. And so I think the interior is really where the new Bolt is going to appeal to more people now. It's definitely a good car to consider. It's just a car now at this time that I don't think I'm ever going to own, because I feel like I've kind of gone past what the Bolt has to offer. And now if I consider a car to replace the Tesla we have now, the Model S, or the Outlander PHEV, which is our second vehicle that we drive, really the most appealing thing to me is like a Model Y at this point. Now that they've announced the rear wheel version of the Model Y, I just can't imagine that I would spring for the Bolt EV or even the EUV when the Model Y is out there for not too much more money. But of course, that's just a personal decision for me. But truly, I do not mean to dissuade you from considering the Bolt. I've just had a lot of experiences with electric vehicles. If you're someone that maybe has only driven one or maybe has never driven an electric car, I think the Bolt might be a great vehicle for you to first get into. To experience things like long driving range, regenerative braking that is very strong and brings the car to a complete stop, which even my Tesla Model S doesn't do. There are definitely strong points about the car. I do not want to make anyone scratch it off their list if they're thinking of getting the vehicle. It's being offered at a very competitive price, and with the looming possibility I say, of the tax credits coming back at a federal level. I mean, they are still there for manufacturers that still qualify for them, but GM and Tesla were the first two that met those thresholds of selling 200,000 electric cars, and then the tax credit phased out and went away entirely. So the possibility of that coming back will be interesting. You know, let's say you get $7,000 of a federal tax credit towards the Bolt, then it's going to be extremely price competitive, especially if they don't raise the price to kind of like counteract like that discount. Tesla's been known to do that. They lowered their price when the tax credits went away. So hopefully neither Tesla nor GM do something like that if the tax credits come back. But again, that's a big if. We'll see what this administration does, or if they structure it differently than how it was offered before. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to hear what you guys think about the Bolt. If you drove one before, do you like the new styling that's being offered here? If you're a Bolt EV driver, do you think you might jump to the EUV? And if you're someone that's maybe never driven electric before, it's always interesting to hear from people like that. Do these cars appeal to you in any way? Is their styling off-putting, or do you find that the range that they offer to be satisfactory and more compelling? Those are the kind of things I'd love to hear about. Feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for taking time and watching this video, and I'll see you in the next episode.